Welcome to Locked and Loaded Sports. It's time to lock in, load up, and win big. If you're serious about sports and love cashing in on solid picks, hit that subscribe button, turn on notifications, and let's get to work. In this video, we will discuss Week 4 NFL picks for every game on the Sunday slate using a blend of historical data, advanced sports analytics, and real-world sentiment to deliver sharp and sometimes contrarian betting picks. In our first game to discuss, we have two 2-1 teams and one hostile environment. The Minnesota Vikings roll into Pittsburgh this Sunday looking to stay hot after a historic 48-10 dismantling of the Bengals, while the Pittsburgh Steelers return home fresh off a gutsy, turnover-fueled win in New England. Minnesota's defense, led by newcomer Isaiah Rodgers, was electric last week with 2 scores and 3 takeaways, and Carson Wentz looked sharp with 173 yards and 2 touchdowns. On the ground, Jordan Mason continues to impress. He gashed Cincinnati for 116 yards and 2 touchdowns just last week, but Pittsburgh's defense is playing like it's 2008 all over again. They forced 5 turnovers against the Patriots, and Aaron Rodgers calmly added 2 touchdown passes to bring his career total to 510, now 4th all time. The Steelers' offense may not be flashy, but it's efficient, especially when the defense hands them short fields. This one could come down to the trenches and who protects the football. We think Pittsburgh makes just enough plays down the stretch. We're getting locked and loaded with the Steelers to cover at home. Moving on to our next Week 4 matchup, and the undefeated Buffalo Bills return home to Highmark Stadium with momentum on their side, looking to make it 4-0 against the winless New Orleans Saints squad that's been stuck in reverse all season long. The Saints hit rock bottom last week in Seattle, getting blown out 44-13. They allowed 38 first-half points, their worst mark since 1973, and looked completely outmatched on both sides of the ball. Rookie quarterback Spencer Rattler finally found the end zone in the 4th quarter, but it was too little, too late. He's now 0-9 as a starter, and New Orleans has dropped 7 straight games dating back to last year, adding 31 penalties in 3 weeks, and it's clear this NFC South team is in full rebuild mode under first-year head coach Kellen Moore. Buffalo, on the other hand, is playing like a contender. Josh Allen was razor sharp in last week's 31-21 win over the Dolphins, tossing 3 touchdowns and completing nearly 80% of his passes. Tight end Dalton Kincaid both found the end zone, while James Cook kept the scoring streak alive with a rushing TD in 7 straight games. Defensively, the Bills made key stops when it counted, with Terrell Bernard's interception sealing the game late. And at home, Buffalo's a different beast, confident, explosive, and ready to keep the train rolling. We are getting locked and loaded with the Buffalo Bills to cover at home. Please remember to smash that like button. And we take you to Atlanta, where the Washington Commanders are rolling into town with momentum after a statement win over the Raiders, while the Falcons are searching for answers after getting shut out on the road. With Jaden Daniels sidelined, Marcus Mariota stepped in and led the Commanders to a dominant 41-24 win over the Raiders. In his first start since 2022, Mariota was sharp and composed, 15 of 21 for 206 yards, including a 43-yard touchdown pass to Luke McCaffrey in the final minutes. The Commanders didn't just beat Vegas, they ran through them, racking up 201 rushing yards, including a 60-yard touchdown from Jeremy McNichols. Special teams even joined the party, with Jalen Lane returning a punt 90 yards to the house. As for the Falcons, last week was a disaster. Atlanta was blanked 30-0 by the Panthers, and outside of Bijan Robinson's 111 scrimmage yards, the offense had no pulse. Michael Penix Jr. struggled from the jump, going 18-36 for 172 yards before being benched in the 4th quarter for Kirk Cousins. Penix is expected to start again in Week 4, but with the way this offense is sputtering and the team's confidence clearly shaken, this isn't the spot we want to be trying to bounce back. We are getting locked and loaded with the Commanders to win straight up on the road. We continue our Week 4 analysis in Detroit, and Ford Field is about to get loud. The Lions are back home and looking to stay in the NFC hunt, and they've got a chance to do just that against a scrappy Cleveland Browns team coming off a wild comeback win. Let's start with the Browns. Cleveland finally got into the win column with a stunning 13-10 victory over the Packers, scoring all 13 points in the final 3 minutes to snap an 8-game losing streak. According to SportsRadar, it was the first time in franchise history Cleveland won a game after scoring 0 points and trailing by double digits with under 4 minutes to play. It was a gritty finish, no doubt. The defense registered 4 sacks and rookie Quinshon Judkins punched in his first career touchdown. But let's be clear, the offense struggled for most of the game, and that kind of late-game magic isn't sustainable. And here's the trend that matters. Cleveland is 0-5 against the spread in its last 5 road games. Now flip it to the home team in this Lions team, they're built tough. Dan Campbell's squad is 4-1 against the spread in its last 5 matchups with Cleveland, and they've turned Ford Field into a serious advantage. This offense is balanced and physical, and they've shown they can win ugly or light up the scoreboard. We're getting locked and loaded with the Detroit Lions to cover at home. Our next matchup takes us to Foxborough, where these 1-2 teams are set to square off, but only one of them is riding real momentum. The Carolina Panthers are coming off their best performance of the season, while the New England Patriots are still trying to hold on to the football. Carolina had a dominant 30-0 shutout win over the Falcons last week, the Panthers' first shutout since 2020. Bryce Young didn't light up the stat sheet, but he played clean football, 16 of 24 for 121 yards and added a rushing touchdown, avoiding the turnovers that plagued his first two starts. But this game was all about defense and special teams. Carolina forced 3 turnovers, held Atlanta to 5 of 16 on 3rd and 4th down, and returned the interception 11 yards for a touchdown. Rookie kicker Ryan Fitzgerald knocked in 3 field goals to cap off a complete team win. Now over to the Patriots, and it was another frustrating outing. New England fell to the Steelers 21-14 in a game defined by self-inflicted wounds. The Pats committed 5 turnovers, Drake May threw a pick and lost a fumble. Ramondre Stevenson coughed it up twice, and Antonio Gibson added another. May did toss 2 touchdowns to Hunter Henry and passed for 268 yards, but turnovers continue to sabotage New England's chances. That's now 9 giveaways in 2 games, and now they're facing a Carolina defense that's flying around and creating chaos. We are getting locked and loaded with the Panthers to cover on the road. Friendly reminder to hit that subscribe button for fresh weekly content. Our next matchup takes us to MetLife Stadium, where the Los Angeles Chargers roll into town as one of the hottest teams in football, and they're set to face a winless New York Giants squad that's already hearing boos from the home crowd. Let's start with LA. Justin Herbert just led his team to a 23-20 comeback win over the Broncos, completing 28 of 47 passes for 300 yards, with a touchdown and an interception. In the process, he became the youngest quarterback in NFL history to reach 2,000 completions, passing Drew Bledsoe at just 27 years and 195 days old. Head coach Jim Harbaugh has this team locked in 3 straight wins. This is a team that's not just winning, they are maturing fast and making plays when it matters most. Now to the Giants, saying it's getting ugly in New York. They fell to 0-3 after a 22-9 loss to the Chiefs, and the offense is stuck in neutral. Russell Wilson was picked off twice and finished with just 160 passing yards on 18 of 32 attempts. The home crowd let him hear it, chanting, "We want Dart," after his second interception. One of the few bright spots was rookie Cam Scatbo, who continues to flash with 121 total yards and his second touchdown in as many games. But with Tyrone Tracy exiting early due to a shoulder injury and Malik Neighbors held to just 2 catches for 13 yards, this Giants offense looks anything but dangerous right now. The survivor pick is simple: Chargers to win. The bettor's pick? Just as clear. We are getting locked and loaded with the Chargers to cover on the road. Our next game to discuss is the battle of the unbeatens in Week 4 as the Philadelphia Eagles head south to take on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in what promises to be one of the weekend's marquee matchups. Let's be clear, Tampa Bay has earned its perfect start. Baker Mayfield has been calm under pressure and lethal when it counts. The Bucs pulled off yet another heartstopper, edging the Jets 29-27, becoming the first team in the Super Bowl era to win in the final minute of regulation in each of its first 3 games. Mayfield was clean and efficient, 19 of 29 for 233 yards, 1 touchdown, no picks, and added 44 yards on the ground. The Bucs are playing smart, balanced, situational football, and they're doing it in crunch time. And the Eagles survived a similar scare last week against the Rams, rallying from down 19 to win 33-26. Thanks to Jalen Hurts' clutch performance, he was 21-32. For 226 yards, 3 passing touchdowns, and a rushing score. He linked up with A.J. Brown and Devonta Smith in the second half, and Philly special teams made the difference, blocking 2 field goals in the fourth quarter. But despite the win, there are cracks showing. The Eagles have been forced into comeback mode in 2 of their first 3 games, and the run game has been inconsistent. Saquon Barkley was held to just 46 yards last week. Meanwhile, the Buccaneers are finding ways to win late, and they've historically given Philly trouble at Raymond James Stadium. We are getting locked and loaded with the Buccaneers to cover. The next matchup reeks desperation for these 2 AFC South teams. Both are winless, and both badly need a W. Only one is coming out of Week 4 with their season still breathing. The Houston Texans and the Tennessee Titans have had rough starts, and this matchup at NRG Stadium has all the makings of a gritty mistake-filled, grinded-out divisional battle. Last week, the Titans got run out of the building by the Colts, 41-20, extending their losing streak to 9 straight games dating back to last season. The fans in Tennessee weren't just booing the performance, they were chanting for change, with head coach Brian Callahan catching heat during a halftime ceremony. Cam Ward showed some fight, throwing for 219 yards and a touchdown and leading a pair of long-scoring drives, but it was too little, too late. Even Tony Pollard's 1-yard TD run and a solid showing from the offense couldn't overcome a defense that continues to collapse in critical moments. Things aren't much better for the Texans, who dropped the close one to Jacksonville 17-10, and while the loss stung, there were at least flashes of promise. C.J. Stroud threw for 204 yards and a touchdown, but 2 interceptions. His first ever against the Jaguars, and a costly Nico Collins fumble doomed Houston late. Stroud had a chance to tie the game in the final moments, driving the Texans into Jaguars territory, but Josh Hines-Allen's pressure forced a wobbler, and Antonio Johnson came down with the game-sealing pick. Tough finish, but the Texans were in it until the final snap. It might not be pretty, but when the dust settles, We are getting locked and loaded with the Texans to cover at home. Don't forget to drop a comment with your favorite pick of the week. For our first afternoon matchup to discuss, we are headed to sunny Southern California for a sneaky good Week 4 matchup as the undefeated Indianapolis Colts bring their perfect record west to face a resilient Los Angeles Rams team looking to bounce back at home. Let's start with the visitors, and yes, the Colts are red hot. Behind Jonathan Taylor's 3-touchdown, 102-yard performance, Indy dominated the Titans in a 41-20 blowout, starting 3-0 for the first time since the Peyton Manning era. This offense is clicking. Daniel Jones is managing the game efficiently, throwing for 228 yards and a touchdown, and has yet to throw an interception all season. Can the Rams turn Daniel Jones into a pumpkin? Well, the Rams suffered a wild 33-26 loss to the Eagles last week, but make no mistake, this team isn't far off. Matthew Stafford threw for 196 yards and 2 touchdowns, including a sharp strike to Kyren Williams, who continues to be a key piece in this offense. And let's not forget Puka Nacua, who is Stafford's go-to target, finishing with 11 catches for 112 yards. The loss came down to one play, a blocked field goal returned for a touchdown on the final snap. That's a fluke, not a flaw. And historically, the Rams have been strong against the spread at home and solid in matchups against the Colts. Whether we're buying a half-point or taking them outright on the money line, we are getting locked and loaded with the Rams to win. Our next Week 4 showdown at Levi's Stadium features the undefeated San Francisco 49ers hosting the scrappy Jacksonville Jaguars. With both teams bringing very different momentum into this matchup, the 49ers are 3-0 and hanging on to that perfect record despite some adversity. Last week, San Francisco edged out the Cardinals 16-15 on a last-second field goal, a gritty win that came despite the loss of Nick Bosa and the absence of starting QB Brock Purdy. Backup Mac Jones stepped up, completing 27 of 41 passes for 284 yards with 1 touchdown and 1 interception. Christian McCaffrey was a workhorse, rushing 17 times for 52 yards and catching 10 passes for 88 yards, showing this offense can grind it out on the ground and through short, efficient passes. Over in Jacksonville, the Jaguars are trying to find their footing at 1-2, having just defeated the Texans 17-10. Rookie Brian Thomas Jr. made a big play late to seal that victory, while Trevor Lawrence had a quiet but effective game, completing 20 of 40 passes for 222 yards with no touchdowns and 1 interception. The Jaguars' offense has struggled to find consistent scoring. The 49ers seem to thrive controlling the clock and limiting mistakes. And without their full offensive arsenal on the field, points could be hard to come by for both teams. We are getting locked and loaded on the under at Levi's Stadium. Our next competitive encounter to break down features some of the best quarterbacks in the sport, with the Chiefs hosting the Baltimore Ravens. Patrick Mahomes has become synonymous with dominance at home. In 68 starts in Kansas City, he's been an underdog only twice, and this week will mark the 3rd time when the Chiefs host the Baltimore Ravens as underdog. The last time Mahomes was an underdog at Arrowhead was against the Eagles in Week 2, and they failed to cover and lost 2017 in the defensive slugfest. That result showed that being at home doesn't guarantee success. The Chiefs finally picked up their first win of the season with a 22-9 victory over the New York Giants on Sunday night. Mahomes was solid, completing 22 of 37 passes for 224 yards and a touchdown, while Kareem Hunt's 1-yard touchdown run helped avoid what would have been the Chiefs' first 0-3 start since 2011. History tends to favor Kansas City covering against Baltimore, but this Ravens squad is different. Lamar Jackson is orchestrating an offense that can be explosive and efficient, while John Harbaugh's squad will look to disrupt Mahomes and keep the game close. The Ravens' disciplined and balanced attack could very well buck the trend and hand the Chiefs a tough home loss. We're keeping this right under or at a field goal if we get action on the spread, but if you want to play the outright winner, we're getting locked and loaded with the Ravens to win straight up on the road. Did you hit the like button? Don't forget to smash it. And now we go to Sin City, where the Las Vegas Raiders host the Chicago Bears. The Raiders have struggled to find consistency this season, and last week they were overwhelmed by the Commanders in a 41-24 loss where Geno Smith was sacked 5 times. Despite his struggles, Smith threw for 289 yards and 3 touchdowns, all to Trey Tucker, who hauled in 8 catches for 145 yards. Ashton Genie found his rhythm late, finishing with 63 rushing yards after a slow start. Meanwhile, the Chicago Bears are riding a wave of momentum after a statement win over the Dallas Cowboys 31-14, handing rookie head coach Ben Johnson his first NFL victory. Quarterback Caleb Williams tied a career high with 4 touchdown passes, completing 19 of 28 attempts for 298 yards and a sparkling 142.6 passer rating. Wide receivers Rome Odunze and DJ Moore are showing signs of life, with Odunze hauling in 4 touchdowns this season and Moore finally finding the end zone. Both teams still have question marks, but the Bears' offense looks sharp and poised to exploit the Raiders' defensive issues. Las Vegas has struggled to protect their quarterback and stop the run vulnerabilities Chicago will be eager to exploit. We are riding the hot hand and getting locked and loaded with the Bears to cover on the road. And now it's time for Sunday Night Football, the final game of the Week 4 Sunday slate, as the Green Bay Packers take on the Dallas Cowboys at AT&T Stadium. So the Cowboys are coming off a tough 31-14 loss to the Bears, And things won't get any easier this week with the motivated Packers team on the road. Dallas quarterback Dak Prescott completed 31 of 40 passes for 251 yards through 2 interceptions and missed the final series last week. Star receiver CeeDee Lamb left with a sprained ankle and is questionable to play Sunday night. Even if he suits up, he's unlikely to be 100%, which will hamper the Cowboys' offense. Green Bay is coming off a hard-fought 13-10 loss to the Browns. Jordan Love completed 18 of 25 passes for 183 yards and a touchdown, while the ground game was limited and Matthew Golden showed promise with 52 total yards on 7 touches. Late-game blunders sealed their fate against the Dog Pound, but their upcoming matchup looks to be just what they need to get back on track. According to FootballDB.com, the Cowboys haven't beaten the Packers at home since 2007, including a recent 48-32 loss in January 2024. Add to that a bitter Micah Parsons looking to dominate his former team. We're rolling with a motivated defense and a hungry squad. We're getting locked and loaded with the Packers to cover on Sunday Night Football. That wraps up another breakdown here on Locked and Loaded Sports. If you enjoyed the content, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe, leave a comment, and turn on notifications so you never miss out on the latest sports analysis and betting insights. More picks, more locks, and more action is coming your way. That's all for now. Stay sharp, stay ready, and get locked and loaded.